Kyle Larson gets it done in Las Vegas, and Rajah Caruth makes NASCAR history.
High, push it, checker flag, hell yeah!
What's the caution for? Me?
Can I not push it in?
Stop anybody.
Come on, these guys! You're waiting out, boys!
One hell of a job, man, one hell of a job. Thank you so much.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. A couple of dirt track racers go out to Las Vegas and Kyle Larson beats them all. I know, we've heard it before. Welcome on into a post-race edition of Shifting Gears. The Las Vegas race is in the books. I'm Alan Bailey, and before we go any further, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video, and as always, log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Larson leads 181 laps in Las Vegas en route to his first victory of the 2024 season. No real surprise here whatsoever. He did the exact same thing when we were in Las Vegas just a few months back in 2023 during the playoffs. Led most laps, won all three stages and won out, and once again holds off a very hard-charging dirt track racer in a Toyota, except it wasn't Christopher Bell this time. Instead, this time it was Tyler Reddick in the number 45, who had a really good day, had a good long-run car, but just couldn't get around and get to Kyle Larson right there in the final run, even with Bubba Wallace issues right there at the end. Bubba Wallace kind of trying to push the 45 to get him to the 5. We've seen that before, team orders, so to speak, but honestly, it was a very, 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 very good race in Las Vegas. At one point, we had 6 of the top 7 drivers side by side, all for positions right there in the top 7. Literally, Larson was pulling away. The battle for third was on 3 wide, and the battle behind them was also 3 wide. So we saw some phenomenal racing. No, it wasn't a photo finish. Yes, it finished under green in Las Vegas, but overall, really good race. But a couple things stood out to me. I want to talk about a couple of things, but I want to start with Bubba Wallace, because early on in this race, early stage 2, when green flag pit stop started happening, Bubba Wallace had an issue, and Fox didn't cover it. Big surprise. We just kind of covered this in our last video, and if you haven't checked out that video, make sure that you go check that one out as well. But we kind of talked about the issues over at the Fox broadcast, and for some reason, internally within Fox, they have the mentality of, if we don't show it on TV, it didn't happen on the racetrack and it doesn't exist. We're telling the story we want to tell, and screw the fan and screw what's actually happening on the racetrack. At least that's the mentality that Fox has. And as literally an award-winning broadcaster, I can tell you that mentality is so arrogant and so wrong. Our job as broadcasters is to paint the picture that's happening at the event for people like you and me who aren't at the racetrack. And I got more information off of Twitter and reporters who were sitting in the infield than Fox, that has multiple cameras around the track and quite literally has a sky view of everything happening on that racetrack. Huge, massive failure from Fox. If you're unaware, Bubba Wallace had left front tire problems on his Toyota today out in Las Vegas. More specifically, the hub was stuck on that rim and couldn't come off. In other words, they couldn't pull that left front tire off of his Toyota for the longest time. They literally were out there with the air gun, couldn't get that to work. They went at it with a hand tool, and a very high quality one, and that one was bent because guys were putting so much pressure on it trying to get it off, and finally, not sure if they had to cut it off or if they finally cracked it loose and got it off, but the guys at 2311 finally got that off of there, but it cost him so many laps. He went about 5 laps down and then was speeding on pit road, lost some more laps, ended up about 13 laps down at the end of the day, I believe, and we didn't hear any of this on the Fox broadcast. At no point did Fox or anybody in the Fox booth talk about Bubba Wallace. He just dropped in the running order, fell to I think he finished 35th today out in Las Vegas. Yes, he did. And we never got a word. Not a single word from Fox. PRN, who was covering the race for radio this weekend at Las Vegas, mentioned it multiple times, and they kept up with it beautifully. Kudos to them for being the professionals they are and actually covering the story. Fox completely and totally dropped the ball. But hey, they showed at least 17 more kids in the grandstand, so, you know, they're continuing to paint that picture of there's children here. Great. Couple of notables that I want to talk about. Ryan Blaney, another top 5, back-to-back for him in the Cup Series. Really good for Ryan Blaney, honestly. That was amazing. He was kind of running in the top 10. kind of sort of stalking the leaders, was kind of there. His teammate Joey Logano was desperately trying to find some speed because, don't look now, the Joey Logano retirement tour is about to start kicking off with the way he's been running. But you look at his teammate, clearly Ryan Blaney is the top dog over at Ford right now. We had this discussion a couple of episodes ago here on the program, and he's definitely that guy who's gelling with his team right now, and they have found something kind of carried over from last season, and I'm interested to see if they can keep it up, so to speak, through the regular season in 2024 into the postseason. And normally by midsummer, somebody will find some speed, and we'll start to see real contenders for the postseason in 2024 come through. But for now, Ryan Blaney is near the top, and when you're running in the top 5 this consistently, wins are going to come. Big shout out to a hometown guy, Noah Gragson. I believe this is his best Cup Series finish, finishing 6th out in Las Vegas in the number 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. Stewart-Haas was struggling, man. Yeah, you had the 14 pull a tire strategy midway through this race and was running in the top 5, but quickly fell like a brick. And he hung out in the top 5, top 10 for a little bit, but fell when it mattered most. Noah Gragson was methodically working his way up, just outside the top 10 for most of the race, worked his way forward, really had some good run speed right there at the very end, and jumped a bunch of cars on that last restart, and at one point was up to 5th, came home 6th. Really good day. Stewart-Haas Racing needed this. Noah Gragson came into this race negative points, and they desperately needed a good run. We got that today. Chase Elliott, disappointing 12th. I mean, at this point, if Chase Elliott isn't finishing top 10, top 5, it's a disappointing day. That's how fans need to look at it, and that's how Hendrick Motorsports needs to look at it, especially when you have Larson leading 181 laps, and you had the 24 car super fast early on, and then unfortunately the 24 car had a little bit of a trash bag. And when I say little bit, I mean a 200 million gallon trash bag on the front of that number 24 car. What the hell? I mean, my gosh, that was a massive, massive trash bag. Completely covered the intake of that nose, completely covered the nose. He had to pit under green, lost multiple laps, got them back, and unfortunately comes home 10th, but doesn't come home with anything more than that. Just for whatever reason, I don't know if he burned up his stuff getting into the top 10, but just never was a factor after the trash bag, unfortunately. Another shout out to another rookie, Carson Hocevar, coming home 15th. You look at Spire, Corey LaJoie was running in the top 10 for the first couple of stages, but honestly, the first stage looked really good for Spire. They were both inside the top 15 right there, LaJoie in the top 5. Then LaJoie slips out of the top 5, 10th-ish, right there, just barely in the top 10. Hocevar was there, and then LaJoie has a spin, gets bumped into turn number 1, backs into the fence, loses a couple laps, and Carson Hocevar leads the charge for Spire, coming home 15th. Carson Hocevar, man, I mean, guy had a piece and was running in the top 15 as well at Atlanta last weekend. So Hocevar is sincerely, right now, one of the better cars over there at Spire, and honestly, we're starting to see some stuff. Yes, the 71 had an issue and multiple laps down towards the back. We've seen this song and dance before. Zane Smith is the new 77 car, where that car is getting very little support. Again, this seems and feels like a 2-car organization that just so happens to be a 3-car, and they're struggling with that 71, but they should get it turned around here. It's just unfortunately going to cost Zane Smith one hell of a bad year before they get it turned around. And, time to figure it out to Austin Cindric. It's bad. It's really bad, actually, because you had Ryan Blaney coming home 3rd, you had Joey Logano coming home 9th, and you have Austin Cindric, who can't even crack the top 25, can't even crack the top 20. That's really bad. I don't care if your daddy runs that place, it's really bad. And I tweeted it out after the race, and I still believe it. If Austin Cindric doesn't pick it up really quick here, he's going to be in that 38 car sooner rather than later. It really wouldn't surprise me. Overall, really good race out in Las Vegas. The Chevys were looking pretty darn good. The Toyotas had some good speed. Fords need to pick it up. Ford noses definitely are missing something right now, and the Toyotas had the long run speed, but not the consistent short run speed. So far, Toyota's looking pretty decent. Chevy obviously has gone undefeated in 2024 in the Cup Series so far. Heck, only just this weekend did we see a non-Chevy win for the first time in 2024, with John Hunter Nemechek picking up the victory in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race, which, by the way, we will talk more in depth about in this week's Still unnamed NASCAR Xfinity Series show. We've got some pretty decent names that we've picked out for that one, and we're going to do a little bit of a poll here once we get a few more. I want to get like a good 5 or so really good names and present them to you so that you can pick the name of this show. My name is not going to be in it whatsoever. No Bailey Report, no Allen's whatever. No. I'm not famous. We're not doing that. NASCAR cannot be in the name, and Xfinity cannot be in the name. So these are the 3 stipulations for the naming rights for this new show. If you have a great idea, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below right now. But John Hunter Nemechek getting it done out in Las Vegas. Shane Van Gisbergen not having a great race with engine problems. Big surprise out of Colleague Racing. So we're going to talk about that on this week's show. I want to talk about the Truck Series, though. Holy crap. Raja Caruth. My man, I love it, man. This is a kid out of Washington, D.C. He's been racing iRacing for a number of years, and he's that sim racer to reality, just like this year's Daytona 500 winner, William Byron. And don't look now, but Raja Caruth, in his 3rd start this season, picks up the victory out in Las Vegas, makes history as only the 3rd African-American driver to ever win a NASCAR National Series event. Wendell Scott did it first, Bubba Wallace did it a few years ago, and now Raja Caruth. I truly think Raja Caruth is the next Kyle Larson. I'm not exaggerating on that one. I think he's going to be a big superstar. I think once he gets into the Cup Series in some good equipment and gets a few races underneath him, he's going to dominate. He's going to win multiple races, multiple championships. Mark my word, you need to keep an eye on this kid, sincerely. And you know who else knows that? Rick Hendrick, who made the announcement this week that HendrickCars.com going to be on that number 71 truck for the entire 2024 season, and they just picked up their first win over the weekend in Las Vegas, qualifying for the postseason in the trucks. Raja Caruth's a championship threat. So is Spire Motorsports. Spire undefeated in the Truck Series so far. I'm telling you, man, once they bought those Kyle Busch Motorsports trucks and the building, whoo! Game on. Yes, Kyle Busch picked up a victory last week at Atlanta. Raja Caruth this week, I mean, impressive. Sincerely, impressive. And yes, you look at Raja Caruth's win, I think the fact that Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell were both in the field prove that Raja Caruth is the guy to keep an eye on this year in the Truck Series. Mark my words. He has a couple of top 10 finishes to back up this victory so far this season. He is a championship threat. Mark my words. And if I'm Spire, if I'm Chevrolet in general, I'm looking at him going, you know, maybe I'm going to put him in that 17 Xfinity car for Hendrick Motorsports for maybe a race or two. Junior Motorsports, you got an extra car for 2025? Because I'm looking at Raja Caruth going, come on, let's get to the Xfinity Series, bud. Let's get you up a little bit. But I do think that him running the Truck Series this year is a good thing because it's going to get him used to how the Cup Series runs. So long term, it's really good that he's running the trucks this year, but it's only his 2nd full-time season in the Truck Series. So keep an eye on this kid, man. He's phenomenally good on the racetrack and off the racetrack. He couldn't be a nicer human being if he tried, sincerely. I've had a chance to talk to him off track, off mic a couple times. Really great person, really, sincerely. And on top of that, he's at the racetrack so much, asking questions of every position around there. Spotters, engineers, hanging out, just being a fly on the wall, absorbing as much of this as he can to make him better at his craft. That's how you do it. That's how you get it done. I'm so high on this kid, seriously. I'm keeping an eye on him. I want to see him succeed, and I really think he will. So let's go ahead and open up our comments now for a little bit of your hot takes. We're going to go ahead and start with this one. Hot take. Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets his charter with Honda's money. I mean, you're not wrong. I think that's a very strong possibility. It's just a question of how deep are Chevy's pockets to keep Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Junior Motorsports, and how deep are Honda's. I don't know. It depends on if Honda gets involved in the sport, and if you missed it, we heard the rumors, keyword, rumors, that Honda is talking to NASCAR with the potential of entering the NASCAR Cup Series as a manufacturer sometime in the future. I take these rumors with a massive grain of salt because literally Honda executives have been talking to NASCAR casually for damn near 15 plus years. Talk is super cheap. It all comes down to action. And until NASCAR or Honda say, yes, it's happening, it's coming, we're here, I don't believe it. So maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a way that can get Honda into the sport if Honda wants to pay Jr. And trust me, it's going to have to be a pretty big penny to pay Dale Earnhardt Jr. to lure Jr. away from Chevrolet and lure Jr. away from the Hendrick Motorsports Technical Alliance that they have. I think it's damn near impossible unless Hendrick Motorsports goes to Honda, which I don't see happening in a million years. Honestly, I really don't. Maybe it can, maybe it will if the price is right, but Rick Hendrick loves Chevrolet. He loves Camaros and Corvettes, and I don't see him going anywhere, really. I don't. Even if money, even from a business standpoint, if it's a good decision, I don't see Rick Hendrick moving away from Chevrolet, and I don't see Junior going away from Chevy either. I don't think anyone not related to Richard Childress will ever drive the number 3 Cup car. Austin Hill seems to be the most likely candidate to move up, but he'll probably be in the number 33. So the latest rumor mill has Austin Dillon retiring after the 2024 season, but I heard this rumor last year and the year before. This just seems to be something that haters in the garage area of Austin just seem to kind of put out there at the beginning of every season, and it never really comes to fruition. Yes, last year he had a really, really bad year with 10 DNFs, and it looked even worse when you have Kyle Busch winning 3 races and making the postseason, and Austin Dillon can't even finish top 15 consistently. But you look at what he did today out in Las Vegas, honestly, good run, really good run. Yes, he was running, top 10, almost top 5 right there, and faded in the closing laps. Big surprise, he couldn't last. And same thing with Kyle Busch. The handling on his car went away. They didn't keep up with the changes, and they fell way back in the finishing order. So overall, RCR needs to be better. That's what it boils down to. And at this point, I think it's just putting your head down, getting it done, figuring it out, and making better changes during the race. That seems to have always been the RCR Achilles heel, even when Earnhardt raced for them. They don't keep up with the changes to the racetrack, they don't make great pit strategy calls more often than not, and they fade. And that's been a problem for literally 40 years at RCR. And for the record, I do not think Austin Dillon is retiring after the 2024 season. A lot of people were upset at our last video. It's clickbait. Oh, it didn't happen. I report on the talk of the garage. Just because you don't like the talk of the garage or believe it is not my fault. I can't bear to listen to Clint Boyer for 1 minute. Guy's a total clown show. Man, I didn't know they aren't even at the track when they are broadcasting. How cheesy is that? Yeah, look, we just did a video a couple days ago on the Fox problem and all of their problems and how to fix them, and it's honestly meant to be put out there to the Fox executives as a, hey, here are 3 basic things you need to work on and how to do them, and it's going to cost you no money. Do them. Not hard. As far as broadcasters not being at the booth, it's something that they do with the NASCAR Truck Series broadcast right now. Fox does. They're broadcasting the entire season again this season, and I want to say this is the 2nd or 3rd year that they haven't had broadcasters at the track for those truck races. They have them in a booth at Charlotte calling these races, which is just so bad. What's happening at Fox right now with the NASCAR coverage is, from a professional standpoint, unacceptable. And it makes the entire sports industry and media industry look bad. I'm sickened by the whole thing. I'm frustrated by the whole thing. It's just pathetic. That's the only way to describe it. But let me know what you have to say about it. Go ahead and leave a comment down below for anything in the NASCAR world, anything you want to talk about. Kyle Larson winning Vegas, John Hunter Nemechek keeping it up in Xfinity just to stay relevant, and Rajah Caruth making history. Give me your comments down below. Make sure that you also come back in a couple of days for the yet-to-be-named NASCAR Xfinity Series show. And, of course, we also have another episode of Shifting Gears coming up in a few days. Every Thursday, actually, we kind of covered the headlines that were and everything that's heading on into the weekend. So mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video in 2024. And, of course, you can always log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Oh, that's going to do it for now. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.